I just wanted to shoot you this very quick video because I had a couple downloads, a couple brainwaves in relation to what to look for when you're dating someone, when you're courting a woman, and potentially asking yourself the question, does this woman belong in my life? Now, I'm going to give you 4 reasons. I'm going to give the best one first because people always do that shit. Number 4 is the really, really good one, so make sure you stay to the end of the video to get that information, but I'm not going to do that shit to you. It is the most important, and I really never hear men talking about this shit, and in my opinion, I believe it's crucial. I believe it's going to tell you a lot about the success of your relationship if you get this information, and depending on whether or not the answer is to that question. So when you're dating a woman, I think one of the first things that you need to ascertain, or what would be a really, really good sign for you to know, is if the woman has been previously in a long-term relationship. Wild, right? Never hear people speaking about this one. And I'm talking a long-term relationship, I would say anywhere past, I would say 3 years. That she's been in a relationship with a man previously for at least 3 years. Now, why do I say this? Well, future events will typically follow past events. The last thing that you want, and I'm sure this is easier for you to agree upon, is that if you're dating somebody who had a long history of very short flings, right? High body count, right? I know. Of course, we don't want that. But if you should definitely not turn your nose up if she says she has previously been with a man and the relationship has lasted 3 to 4 years, right? I think this is a really, really good sign because she is not going to be indoctrinated by this airy-fairy, wishy-washy Disney film bullshit about what a relationship is like, right? It's very over-romanticized, these kinds of relationships, and it just doesn't live in the real world. I like to always say that when things are going good in the relationship, good. You don't need to fucking worry about them. You just need to maintain the course that you are taking. But your attention should primarily be focused on when things go wrong, because they will go wrong. This is what Disney doesn't show you, right? Pixar doesn't show you, is that shit will go south. You will have arguments. You will have fallouts. You will have points where communication just isn't working in the relationship. But in those moments, it's so important that she recognizes that this is something that you work to together. That relationship is something that you exercise on, like a muscle that you train in the gym. You have to keep working it to maintain its function, to maintain its strength. So if she has experience and maturity of what that dynamic looks like, I think that is an excellent sign that will tell you, if you choose to bring this woman into your life, she is in it for longevity, monogamous, a long relationship. I think that's a very, very healthy sign. I was going to say something on bashing promiscuous relationships before. Let's maybe I'll come back to that. So I think that's a really, really healthy sign. The second thing, which I think is I touched on before, but I think it's equally valuable, is if she's previously lived with a man, and I mean somebody nearer to her age. So if she has a brother, I think that's a really, really good sign. She's gonna be more socially accepting to how the masculine operates inside the home, what it's like having that masculine energy in the household, and how to kind of articulate herself around that particular energy and complement that energy. If she doesn't have a brother and she's in a house of sisters, the key lesson from these 2 points is reference points. Experience with masculine energy in the kind of dynamic that you want, which is a long-term relationship. The less she has of that, the less she is going to revert to her ideas of what that looks like. And her ideas of what that looks like, where does it come from? It comes from fucking rubbish. Absolute rubbish. It comes from fucking these dating shows. It comes from movies, Pixar, Disney. It comes from very inaccurate models of how these kinds of things work out. And you cannot have her be deluded and brainwashed into what that looks like. Because I know very, very immature women that at the first sign of trouble, they'll dip out of the relationship. They'll go to the man they had on the back burner because they're not, appreciating her, or whatever the case is. No, it's something that you work out together. This is what I was going to say. The analogy I like to give is the relationship you have with your family, right? I love my father, I love my mother, I love my sister, right? Do we get on all the time? Fuck no, we don't. but they're family, right? You should approach, and she should approach, that kind of relationship with her man in the same way she does her family. That things won't always be peachy, but when they are difficult, that's where the work starts to settle in, and we have to mature, we have to compromise, right? Especially for you younger gents who haven't been in a long-term relationship, I think women typically leave the relationship more times than men, at least in my research. So these are really, really good pieces of information for you to know if you're considering bringing a woman into your life. The third one is and the fourth one is, sorry to allude, the fourth one is a big one as well. We'll go to the third one first though. Compliant and amenable. We don't know how to say that word. The last thing you want is a woman to be combative, because combative psychological temperament is typically more masculine, right? And you want to be the leader in the relationship. You need to ascertain in the early stages of dating and whether or not you're thinking about bringing this woman into your life, because you men who hold the gate to the relationship, the key to the relationship, who is going to lead the relationship? And if you're not in a position to lead, you're financially unstable, you can't hold yourself or prop yourself up first, you're not in a position to be dating unless you want to pursue a relationship predicated on a dilution, let's say, of masculine and feminine energies, meaning you're going to have to take on some feminine characteristics and she's going to have to take on some masculine characteristics. That can work. It has worked. I don't believe it's optimal in my opinion, but you need to first sit down and ask yourself, what kind of role do I want to play in my relationship? Do I want to be the leader? Do I want to be playing the masculine role? Or do I want to blur the lines and share responsibility of those roles? Which again can work. I don't believe it's optimal though. Ideally, if you want to go with the former, she has to be client compliant. She has to be amenable, which just means open to suggestion, a little bit more agreeable than typically the average human temperament or a masculine temperament, I would say. You don't want someone who's going to be constantly challenging you. I like to always say, name a ship that has two captains. Doesn't happen, right? It would be chaos. It would be disorder. It would fall into disrepute. So you need to look for someone who's ultimately going to follow your lead, right? If you want to pursue a relationship predicated on traditional roles and values. And the last one is accountable behavior and talk. This one, a lot of guys miss. And in my opinion, alarm bells, whistles, sirens should be going off if she's starting to speak this way. So, on your first date, maybe your second date, maybe it might be difficult to bring up on the first date, but you want to ascertain why the previous relationship failed, right? Especially if it's a long-term one. If she starts saying shit like, he just wasn't my person, I just need somebody to love me for me, alarm bells, whistles, sirens should be going off in your head, right? To decipher talk along those lines is, I will take no responsibility for the failure of that relationship. It was all the other person's fault, right? This is absolutely catastrophic and is almost, I mean, goodness me, if I heard something like that on dating, I would first, you need to ascertain what she means by that. So you might need to put your detective hat on and do a little bit more work and ask questions like, well, what do you mean by he just wasn't your person? Or what do you mean by you just need to find the right person? And if she goes down this line, well, he just wasn't paying enough attention to me, I felt very lonely. If the dialogue that precedes that question doesn't include any of introspection on her role to play in that relationship, meaning she's not pointing to anything that she could have done better to improve the relationship, I would never take that woman on another date ever again. Ever. And neither should you. You are That is victim mentality 101. That is somebody who doesn't believe in any form of self-improvement whatsoever, who doesn't believe that they need to take any responsibility in the relationship whatsoever. These women are not women, they are parasites. They are leeches. They're very, non-spiritual, greedy, NPC style psychologies, right? I'm being pretty harsh here, but I believe these women are the worst of the worst women that you can encounter in your life, right? Very deterministic style of behavior. I have no control here, right? Don't blame me, push all the responsibility and jurisdiction onto the other individual, right? You do not want somebody like that in your life at all. Even if the relationship does have legs, she will ruin your life. Ruin your life, right? You'll be gaslighted. You'll start thinking, why, what have I not done? I'm obviously not living up to here, because you're carrying two people in a relationship. So, hey, maybe I was right. Maybe this is the most important thing. So those of you that stayed to the end, this is critical information for you to get early on. Just a quick summarize, guys. Really good sign if she's been in a long-term relationship before. If she's lived with men before, ideally around her age, brothers, good sign. If she's compliant and amenable, open to suggestion, agreeable, and absolutely disregard a woman who takes no accountability or responsibility in previous relationships. They will destroy your life very, very quickly. This is crucial information. Pass it on to your brothers, guys, because this will save you a lot of heartbreak in the future and wasting time and making wrong decisions. I don't believe these are theories. I believe these are facts. So take it all. Discard none of it. Speak to you again soon.